Everyone ignored the Japanese billionaire, until the waitress spoke to him in Japanese. The dinner rush had already begun when Emily Carter tied her apron and stepped onto the restaurant floor. Friday nights at the Grand Oak were always chaotic. Wealthy businessmen filled the private booths, families celebrated birthdays, and tourists crowded near the windows overlooking the city. Emily had worked there for almost 3 years. She wasn't rich. She wasn't famous. She was simply a hard-working waitress trying to pay her college tuition while helping support her mother. That evening seemed like every other evening. Until a quiet old man walked through the door. He wore a simple gray suit. No designer logos. No expensive watch. No bodyguards. Nothing about him suggested wealth. The host glanced at him briefly. "Table for one." The man nodded. "Yes." His English sounded careful and deliberate. The host pointed toward a small table near the kitchen entrance, the least desirable seat in the restaurant. The man thanked him politely and sat down. Several servers exchanged looks. "Probably another tourist," one whispered. "Not much tip there." Emily didn't pay much attention. She simply continued serving customers. A few minutes later, she noticed something unusual. The elderly man was studying the menu with visible difficulty. The waiter assigned to his section approached impatiently. "Ready to order." The man hesitated. "Sorry, my English not very good." The waiter sighed. "We have pictures." Then he walked away before the man could finish speaking. Emily watched the interaction. Something about it bothered her. The man looked embarrassed. Alone. Ignored. She grabbed a glass of water and walked over. "Good evening, sir." The man looked up. She smiled warmly. "Would you like some help with the menu?" His shoulders relaxed slightly. "Thank you." He pointed uncertainly at several dishes. Emily noticed his accent. Years earlier, she had studied Japanese at college. Not because she needed to. Because she loved languages. She rarely used it now. Most people didn't even know she spoke it. Then she decided to try. In careful Japanese she said, "Would it be easier if I spoke Japanese?" The man's eyes widened. For a moment he seemed shocked. Then he smiled. A genuine smile. "You speak Japanese?" Emily laughed. "A little." The man's expression brightened instantly. Around them, the restaurant noise seemed to disappear. For the first time since entering, he looked comfortable. They spent several minutes discussing the menu entirely in Japanese. Emily explained ingredients, recommended dishes, and answered questions. The man thanked her repeatedly. When she finally left, he looked genuinely grateful. Unfortunately, others noticed. One server rolled her eyes. "Why waste time?" Another laughed. "He's sitting at the cheapest table." Emily ignored them. Her mother had taught her something important. Treat everyone with dignity. You never know what battles they're fighting. For the next hour, Emily checked on him regularly. The man remained humble and kind. He asked about her studies, her family, her dreams. Nothing unusual. Just friendly conversation. Then something unexpected happened. A black luxury car stopped outside. Then another. And another. The restaurant windows reflected flashing headlights. Several customers turned to look. The manager frowned. "What now?" The front doors opened. 6 men in dark suits entered. Their appearance immediately changed the atmosphere. They looked like corporate executives. Important ones. Powerful ones. The leader scanned the room. Then he spotted the elderly man. Instantly he bowed deeply. The other 5 men did the same. The entire restaurant fell silent. The old man looked mildly annoyed. He stood and greeted them. In Japanese. The executives responded respectfully. The manager hurried over. Confused. "Is everything okay?" One executive turned. His expression was serious. "Do you know who this man is?" The manager blinked. "No." The executive looked stunned. Then he answered. "This is Mr. Kenji Nakamura." Several executives nearby gasped. The name meant nothing to most customers. But one businessman nearly dropped his wine glass. "Kenji Nakamura." The executive nodded. "The founder of Nakamura Global Industries." The restaurant suddenly exploded with whispers. Nakamura Global Industries was one of the largest technology companies in Asia. Its value exceeded $40 billion. Its products were sold worldwide. Kenji Nakamura wasn't just wealthy. He was one of Japan's richest businessmen. The manager turned pale. He remembered placing the man beside the kitchen. The worst table. The waiters remembered ignoring him. The host remembered dismissing him. Everyone remembered. Except Emily. She simply looked surprised. Mr. Nakamura smiled when he saw her reaction. You did not know. She shook her head. No. Would it have changed how you treated me? Emily thought for a moment. Then smiled. No. The billionaire laughed. A deep, genuine laugh. The executives exchanged amused glances. One of them said, Mr. Nakamura often travels without announcing who he is. Another added, he believes people's true character appears when they think nobody important is watching. The room became uncomfortably quiet. Because everyone knew exactly what had happened. Most employees had ignored him. Only Emily had treated him kindly. The billionaire looked around the restaurant. Then pointed toward Emily. She was the only person who spoke to me like I mattered. Nobody said a word. The manager looked embarrassed. Very embarrassed. Before leaving, Mr. Nakamura handed Emily a business card. If you ever need anything, call me. She thanked him politely, assuming it was simply a kind gesture. Then he left. The executives followed. The luxury cars disappeared into the night. And life returned to normal. Or so Emily thought. 3 days later, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. Hello. A familiar voice answered. Emily, this is Kenji Nakamura. She nearly dropped the phone. Mr. Nakamura. Yes. His voice sounded cheerful. I have a proposal. Emily listened carefully. The billionaire explained that his company planned to expand operations in the United States. They needed bilingual cultural consultants. People who understood both languages and cultures. One candidate had suddenly withdrawn. Mr. Nakamura remembered her. Her Japanese wasn't perfect, but her communication skills impressed him. Most importantly, her character impressed him. He invited her to interview. Emily was stunned. The opportunity sounded impossible, life-changing, yet she hesitated. I don't have corporate experience. Mr. Nakamura laughed. Experience can be taught. Then he added, kindness cannot. 2 weeks later, Emily entered Nakamura Global's American headquarters. The building was breathtaking. Glass towers, modern architecture, hundreds of employees. She felt completely out of place. The interview panel included senior executives. To her surprise, Mr. Nakamura personally attended. The interview lasted 2 hours. Language skills, problem solving, cultural understanding, communication. Emily answered honestly. She didn't pretend to know everything. She admitted mistakes, asked thoughtful questions, and remained herself. 3 days later, she received an email. She got the job. The salary exceeded anything she had ever imagined. When she told her mother, both cried. For the first time in years, financial worries seemed manageable. Her life changed quickly. She left the restaurant, finished college, began working directly with international teams. Every challenge taught her something new. Months passed, then years. Emily excelled. She worked hard, learned constantly, earned respect. Eventually she became one of the company's most trusted managers. But what impressed people most wasn't her intelligence. It was her leadership style. She remembered what it felt like to be overlooked. So she never overlooked others. She greeted janitors by name, listened to interns, thanked assistants, helped new employees feel welcome. People noticed, especially Mr. Nakamura. One afternoon he invited her to lunch. The company founder was now in his 70s. Yet his eyes remained sharp. During lunch he asked, do you remember our first meeting? Emily smiled. Of course. He nodded thoughtfully. Many people believe success comes from intelligence. He paused. Some believe it comes from money. Another pause. Others believe it comes from luck. Emily listened quietly. Then he said, they are all wrong. What is the answer? The billionaire smiled. How you treat people. Emily considered that. He continued. When I was young, I had nothing. Really, nothing. He laughed softly. I cleaned factory floors, delivered packages, slept in tiny apartments. Many people ignored me because I appeared unimportant. His expression grew serious. And I never forgot. The billionaire looked out the window. The world constantly measures people by appearance. Titles, money, status. But true character appears when none of those things are visible. Emily remembered the restaurant, the cheap table, the dismissive waiter, the embarrassed host, the lonely man studying a menu. Then she remembered choosing to help. Not because he was rich. Because he seemed to need help. Mr. Nakamura smiled. That evening, you passed a test you didn't know existed. Years later, another opportunity arrived. The company expanded further. A new executive position opened. Thousands applied. The role came with enormous responsibility. And an even larger salary. Many expected an experienced executive to win. Instead, the position went to Emily. Some people questioned the decision. Until they worked with her. Then they understood. She led with empathy, integrity, respect, the values Mr. Nakamura cherished. One evening, after a major company celebration, Emily found herself standing beside him on a balcony overlooking the city. Lights stretched endlessly across the skyline. The billionaire appeared reflective. "You know," he said, "people always ask me the secret to finding good leaders." Emily smiled. "What do you tell them?" He pointed toward the streets below. "I tell them to watch how someone treats a stranger. Not a customer. Not a boss. Not an important person. A stranger." Emily nodded. Because she understood. The greatest moments in life often arrive disguised as ordinary moments. A conversation. A small kindness. A simple decision. Nothing dramatic. Nothing extraordinary. Until years later. When you realize everything changed because of it. Mr. Nakamura eventually retired. The company honored his legacy. Employees around the world celebrated his achievements. But privately, he often told one particular story. Not about billion-dollar deals. Not about technology. Not about business victories. He told the story of a waitress. A young woman in a crowded restaurant. Someone who treated an unknown elderly man with respect when everyone else ignored him. And every time he told it, he ended the story the same way. She didn't change her life because she spoke Japanese. He smiled. She changed her life because she chose kindness. Years after their first meeting, Emily visited the Grand Oak again. The restaurant looked almost identical. The same entrance. The same tables. The same atmosphere. She sat quietly near the window. A young waiter approached. He looked nervous, new, inexperienced, trying his best. Emily smiled warmly. The waiter relaxed immediately. And as she watched him walk away, she remembered something important. The billionaire's lesson wasn't really about wealth, or opportunity, or success. It was about humanity. Every day, people pass strangers. Workers, customers, drivers, cashiers, waiters, janitors. People whose stories remain invisible. People who may be struggling, dreaming, hurting, hoping. Most of us never know. Yet every interaction becomes a choice. To ignore, or to care, to judge, or to understand, to dismiss, or to respect. Emily's life changed because she made the right choice on an ordinary evening. And somewhere in the world, countless opportunities still hide behind ordinary moments. Waiting for someone kind enough to notice.